Oh, we got Robbie and Jenny Pace. Jenny Pace first today. Good morning. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, we are here, and Sita has something to say.
Yeah, she says it's early lunchtime.
Yes, she says it's early lunch, and I was having a really yummy peanut butter cookie this morning, and Sita is upset because I did not give her a piece.
Homemade, of course. Everything organic, of course.
Always homemade, organic, and absolutely delicious now.
Okay, guys, lots going on. It's just absolutely madness and craziness. But we have oneness in the house. That is always a blessing.
Oh, goodness, I know it's early. It's just there's so much going on. Hello there, Miss Sonja Linsby.
Sonia.
Sonia, good to see you. Hello there. Hilde, good to see you too. Amy, Miss Christine Love.
Oh, so wonderful. You know, when you get like this type of thing, it's like so much better to go live because you want to interact with the family and we want to get your reactions and feel, what you guys are feeling.
Well, yeah, and just have more of a conversation instead of just, putting the information out there. It's always good to bounce stuff off you guys too.
Yep. Quintress, welcome. Travis, welcome. Yeah, yesterday was one of those rare days where we didn't get a video up. That happens once in a blue moon. Again, we are in like full homestead mode. We're trying to prepare for what I really think is going to be perhaps the most eventful summer of our lives. I really do think this summer will be the biggest summer of our lives to this point, as far as shifting paradigms, life-changing. You could say the winter of 2020 was like the most monumental winter so far that we've seen, where everything shifted, of course, with the whole lockdown situation, everything that came out of that. Well, we're going into something similar but different. And I think it's also kind of like a leveling up is what's going to be happening. I think we have to just kind of work our way through the minefield that is this time period between 2026, where we are right now, and maybe 2028, 2029. It's going to be some of the most challenging times.
I think minefield is a key word because sometimes there's nothing and it looks like something, and sometimes there's something and it looks like nothing. You have to pick it apart.
Yep, DJ in the house, Michael, Angelo, Zeke, good to see everybody.
Yeah, it looks like Robbie has one of those tagged symbols right next to him. I don't know if you can see it, Robbie. We can see it on this side. Those symbols are weird.
Yeah, I think, again, that has to do with, maybe handing us over to a new system, if you know what I mean. But the new system is the old system. It's just dressed up in new fancy clothing, technology.
Indeed.
Yeah, they look like Chinese characters. In fact, we should throw that into chat. Ron Simpson has it too. So, is Robbie and Ron marked by the system? Is this some sort of social credit score thing?
Or just maybe even just for today.
Jen and the birds are in the house.
Good day, Jen and the birds. And yeah, everybody's here. Michael Robbins, Angelo, good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, guys, let's we're going to be looping around through a few different things. Listen to this. This is Fox News, right? Cutting off one of the reporters. Listen to this.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me, and right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened, and then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time. I did want to add this while we had a moment.
Yeah, that is like, they cut her off because she might give away something. I think this is just absolutely purposeful, meaning I think this was done purposefully because they're also sowing the seeds of you can't trust your eyes. Don't trust your very eyes. Oh, this is so big. Thank you so much, Oneness. We appreciate you and your love and support all these years.
Yes, thank you very much, Oneness.
Just think of this. Again, what's she's kind of hinting that something might have been foreknown, maybe. Others will say, nah, she was just, stating the obvious, because obviously there's been apparently multiple attempts on the president, right? And here you go, yet another.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me, and right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened, and then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Sounds like we lost Aisha's.
Yeah, okay, in and of itself, okay. Well, maybe it was just, I don't know. Could be anything. Let's not jump to conclusions, the rational person would say. How about this?
Ready to rumble, is he not?
He is ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
There'll be some shots fired tonight. Now, this is Carolyn Levitt, that whose husband was talking to, that reporter, and wait a minute, she gets cut off, and then Carolyn Levitt herself, who's about to go out on maternity leave, says this.
Ready to rumble, is he not?
He is ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
In the room. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room. Let's go back here a minute.
I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me, and right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened, and then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV, you do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
And she gets cut off. She gets cut off because...
Ready to rumble, is he not?
He is ready to rumble. I will tell you, this speech tonight will be classic Donald J. Trump. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
Maybe he said, hey, you better watch out. There's going to be some shots fired in the room tonight.
If you think about it and listen to what they're saying, she probably figured that gun had blanks in it or something, and it's just a hilarious thing to drop some hints or clues,
Well, this is the thing. They seem to really enjoy this. It kind of gives them pleasure because they feel in control. They feel above everything. Again, there's nobody from the E-list that's really been charged with anything when you get down to it. And here are some remarks that 47 made.
Believe me, because, it's my life. And I want to live because I want to make this country great. That's why I want to live. But when you're impactful, they go after you. When you're not impactful, they leave you alone. Believe.
So, it's just so, to some people, everything is just so obviously staged on such a big level that it's just kind of ridiculous. And then others, they completely still believe it. They do not believe that they are watching a script.
In this time, I guarantee you there's absolutely no way someone could have gotten in that room with a gun unless they were allowed.
Yeah, Jen says this was also the first time as president that he attended this event. He attended when Obama was in office, but not as president. Yeah, all the world is indeed a stage, and so, he's making the statement that he wants to live. Boy, if I was a betting man, I would venture to say I think again we're heading towards turmoil. And I shared with you like a remote viewing that I had done. I actually did 2 remote viewings that came and circled around to the fact that I have seen a time when JD Vance is addressing the nation and talking about a sad day, a dark day in history, because he's not here anymore, and it's not a long shot to think that something would happen, after all these events that have transpired and all the division that we're in, and the wars and the hatred and the left-right dichotomy and, everything from, again, the Soros Foundation and Antifa, the left-right, the going after, the Obama-Biden regime. And, that it's just all heading to a culmination. But what they need to do is take it a notch further. This is just obvious. So as we're taking a step back and we're looking at all this like a drama in which, real people do lose their lives in this. I think when we talk about people that are of the controlling lower control mechanism management, do they really, like E-Man, is he not on vacation somewhere still in the Caribbean or maybe in the Mediterranean? We don't know. Again, we're told one thing, but we know we can't trust what we're told. So again, it might look like, JFK. We know what happened to JFK, in Dallas again. So that type of thing could happen, and the history books are going to record it as one thing. But again, history is written by the victors.
All the time, going way, way, way back. This is just part of the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Bring out the popcorn. Make sure it's organic popcorn. Don't put any of that fake oil stuff on it. Use real butter.
It's the best.
It really is. And yes.
Himalayan salt.
Yes, and please do make sure you're subscribed. Again, we have the 3 channels: Evolutionary Energy Arts, EEARTS, and Heart's Om on YouTube. And we want to thank everybody for their support over on Patreon, Ko-Fi as well. We are also on Rumble. We have been on Brightian. We've posted like over 4,000 videos to Brightian. I haven't been able to post on Brightian for 2 weeks now, pretty much. Occasionally, there's a video that'll get through. They have no answer for why I can't seem to get a video up there anymore. And BitChute as well, to some degree. Here you have, and we're going to go back more to the president's situation, but I wanted to catch you up on some other things because it was a real active night. Wild footage captures lightning striking a natural gas facility. Wait a minute. This is just an act of God that happened to hit a natural gas facility in Springtown, Texas, triggering a massive explosion, sending a huge fireball in the air. Are you serious? Was this really an act of God? Or, should we translate it differently, because in the Bible where you see Elohim, that's in the plural, and that means mighty ones, powerful ones, the ones that judge humanity, the ones that control humanity, and it's in the plural. Yeah, it seems like gas facilities, oil refineries, again, anything to do with food production or energy production, basic needs, is getting attacked and destroyed.
Oh, yeah. Everything in any way that they possibly can. So as much as you can, do things, either get to know a farmer, hug a farmer, get to know them. I see we have Karmadoc in the house, and she's becoming very self-sustaining with SHTF Farms. I love that name. I think it's most appropriate, and that's where our chickens came from. she gives those chicks to hatch. So thank you so much, Karma Doc. But farmers work so hard. It's 24/7. You're always on guard. But you know what? We're going to need them. So, reach out to a farmer. If you can't grow everything yourself and do everything yourself, know people that can have ways, because, it's this slow choking off of our ability to feed ourselves anything decent. I mean, I'm sure that they're going to leave on the shelves things like Coca-Cola, Ritz crackers, Pepsi, orange soda, but that's just going to make you have a very painful, slow death. You might live, you might have, some good times in this life, but what that does to your body in the end, it rots your bones. I mean, it just really is like rots your bones and your soul to put that kind of stuff in your body, because they're changing the ingredients. I mean, they're not even ingredients. You can honestly call them chemicals.
Yeah, so Dolores says, isn't that the Google Translate symbol? Yeah, it does look like the Google Translate symbol, but why is it only on some people? As far as I know, Ron and Robbie primarily speak English, so why does it show up on them? Are they being automatically translated into something else? The other thing, too, is I do think that this is something that looks like really a Chinese character. So, curious. Just very, very curious. Again, thank you so much, Oneness. We do appreciate all you guys.
I know. And Carmen Doc saying, how many ticks have we had this year thus far? It's bad again, again. A couple things I really like to do that's helping this year is they seem to really not like rosemary. So I have a rosemary little spray that I put on them, and then garlic powder, you guys, garlic powder. Put that on your pets, put it on your shoes, and then your pets run it through the yard, and they seem to not like that. But yeah, we've had plenty, and that's another problem, that they're trying to make sure people are getting sick just in time for a certain ouchie to come out. Yeah, there's a miraculous cure for Lyme all of a sudden. Everybody better run get it.
Facetiousness. Again, we trust nature, and we do not trust anything that gets patented, honestly, as far as that goes, that type of thing. Automated ads can help you earn more, but they also interrupt your experience. That's why I have the ads turned off during the live, because, we want that interaction with you guys. This is in Vietnam, Hanoi. You see a recycled oil storage facility ablaze. Again, all over the world, you have this situation where things are going up one after another, after another, after another. Again, anything that has to do with energy production or also food production seems to be just experiencing bad luck. Yeah, it's just bad luck. A fire broke out at RAF Fairford. Reports indicate the blaze started in a building used by the U.S. Air Force in the UK. The base has hosted American bombers, particularly B-52s, during the Iran War. Yeah, and I know there was an incident over here before, so this is not the first incident, but this fire looks much bigger. Very, very curious. All these little coincidences.
Oh, I know. I know. There's just too many, and they're building and they're building and they're building. And I mean, how many times do you have to have a coincidence, for it to be true? Or how many coincidences does it take for something to be true? Is there a mathematical value for that? I wonder.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if I was a betting man, I would say that sometime during summer, you would expect maybe any time from around 4th of July to maybe the eclipse in August. We might see a major event of a similar scale to what we saw over there at the Correspondence Dinner, but much larger, and maybe with bigger, darker results. Listen to this.
Sirens going off in Fort Worth. From my balcony in downtown Fort Worth area.
Yeah, sirens sounding in Fort Worth, Texas.
She's on her way to Texas too.
Yeah, she's going. Not. She'll have to go through that area. I hate going through. I hate going through Dallas Fort Worth. It's just such a madhouse. So much energy there. We're not city folk, not anymore at all. Never really was. But yeah, we had big storms. 2 people were killed, unfortunately, on Runway Bay and Springtown. Big storms that popped up. They hit us at like 3 a.m. And they were massive, and they felt very, very violent. Again, when we look to all the crazy storms around the globe, there is just a craziness that we have so much drought in certain areas. Again, the fires going on in Georgia and Florida because of extreme drought. And yet we get this. This is happening all the time. You got to be really careful because, water just takes more time to go down when you're in a desert environment.
Oh my gosh, desert is so different. The desert ground isn't made to absorb water very fast, and this is where you get a lot of the washouts and where people get caught off guard. So this is something, if you don't think you can make it, don't try. If you don't think you should go out, don't. Or unless you have some sort of backup and some sort of support going out in storms. This is just dangerous. But again, with the flash floods, you don't always know when you're going to get caught off guard. So it's a tough call. But if you have the ability to make a call, make it a good one, and don't go out there.
Yeah, if you hear strange sounds in the background, it's just our velociraptors on the run there.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, don't try to make it through a puddle because you don't know how deep it could get. This I can't help but wonder if there's some real truth in this. Significant rise in the Tigris River. Now, part of the whole Armageddon thing and the invasion of the armies of the East that contained 200 million men, that could only be obviously including maybe China, perhaps China with India, coming from the kings of the East. Part of their ability to get to the Middle East and maybe even Europe is, and this is biblical prophecy, it has to dry up the Tigris and Euphrates. They were drying up. They've been going down. And now it seems that since all the U.S. air bases in the area were taking out, all of a sudden there's all this water coming in. Was there cloud seeding? Can I call it cloud seeding in reverse? Because this is what happens all the time. I've noticed we're supposed to get storms. All of a sudden they're plastering the skies with their fake clouds, and it's like it dries up the precipitation. Could this have been going on a mass scale? Because people in the Middle East think that it has been. And here you go, now that the air bases are no longer functioning, water's rising and life is returning to the desert. At least this is what they are kind of telling us. Lots of people actually talking about this. Iran destroyed American radars in, it says, Arab countries, and rainfall increased, dams overflowing for the first time in 7 years. There's a lot of different people from the Middle East that are talking about this.
It's really curious. It's curious to see. I don't know how often this happens. If this is record waters. I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to pump up, the Revelations thing by showing all of these, signs, signs. There will be signs, right? It's just something curious, and times do kind of feel very strange. There's a lot of strange things going on, so it's worth, kind of looking at.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm glad we have a pretty good turnout for the morning, because we always want to give you guys as much as we can, and interaction is great, so we do appreciate these lives. I think there's something to this. I know there's global weather manipulation everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in Russia, China, or the US, UK. There's weather manipulation going on. it's, I think, being done, honestly, by the real control system behind the illusionary control system. Again, it's part of the bigger plan. And I realized this reading the Bible, because reading the Bible, it would say, the Lord, and really, again, sometimes that is in the plural. And Lord just simply means the owner of the land. That's really what it traditionally is interpreted as. The person that owns the land. Again, John Livy was doing one today where, we think we've been in a certain situation since 9/11, Patriot Act, right? And it's, with the introduction of the Patriot Act, that everything's fallen apart, and we have the Big Brother society. The reality is, 1933, it goes back to 1933 and the War Powers Act. We've been in that state of emergency since before then. It goes back to the Civil War. It literally goes back to the Civil War. We didn't just lose our democratic republic. That's an illusion. It's been this way, really, going back to Roman times, because they had the same issues in Rome with corrupt senators, that thought they were above the law. And they were, because, again, it's all just really, truly an illusion to make the inmates think they're running the asylum.
And they do a good job. A lot of people out there, they don't even think that there's yeah, that's funny. 111 watching. Thumbs up, guys. We're on the right track here. We're all in alignment. Supposed to be here. Supposed to be talking about the things, So this is really, really good. But yeah, a lot of people are still just busy, and they're not talking about or even looking at what's going on. And, at some point, I think it's just going to be so horribly obvious. And I think those times are going to be coming up here in the summertime. I really think there's going to be some huge revelations, let's see, probably around May. I think end of May, there's going to be some more big things come up. But, there's going to be a lot of good and a lot of bad, and we just kind of have to roll with the punches,
Okay, so here is, talking about what Trump posted. What happened last night is exactly the reason that our great military, Secret Service, law enforcement, and for different reasons, every president last 150 years have been demanding a large, safe, and secure ballroom be built on the grounds of the White House. This event would never have happened with the military top secret ballroom currently under construction at the White House. It cannot be built fast enough. While beautiful, it has the highest level security feature there is. Plus, there are no rooms sitting on top for unsecured people to pour in, and it is inside the gates of the most secure building in the world, the White House. The ridiculous ballroom lawsuit brought by a woman walking her dog who has absolutely no standing to bring such a suit must be dropped immediately. Nothing should be allowed to interfere with its construction, which is on budget and substantially ahead of schedule. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So, again, some people just think all this was staged just to bring about the ballroom. And then you have the person that is being identified as the person of interest. Do you say that he's arrested? Cindy saw some reports that were saying he was shot and killed. But, again, you get all sorts of craziness and conflicting info at first.
Oh, tons. Just all kinds of stuff flying around all over the place. And then you have, you always have the question about how much of this is like AI data. And what's really disturbing about AI right now is they're deliberately putting things out that are AI generated just so we can pick them out and say, hey, no, that's AI. So what does AI do? It learns from that and it corrects its mistakes. So at some point, everything that we look at could be completely 100% made up. And I think we always need to have that in the back of our minds every time we look at any kind of news.
Okay, here you go. So this is supposedly the shooter, Cole Allen, right? Uploaded a photo of himself. What's that cool sweater he's got on? I could see Defense Forces. They're suggesting that it says Israeli Defense Forces. So, okay, another way you could look at this, by the way, this is showing interest over time in searching for the name Cole Thomas Allen. And you see a big blip. Over 100 searches for this person's name way back in February? What? Who? Why? Right? So then you could come to the conclusion that maybe this was some sort of warning. Was it a warning, that you better not try to go back on whatever promises were made to support the war over there and to stay on target? And, it does look like this logo. Is it necessarily that logo? Well, we can't see with his hand here. It looks like it. So, again, what do you think? Account for Henry Martinez posted Cole Allen on December 22nd, 2023. Again, how far back do we know when things are planned? How far back? And this is when it gets to the level of weirdness. This is where some people start getting convinced it's either got to be a complete script or it's time travel, or, well, recognize we have remote viewers in the U.S. military. We know this for a fact. We've talked to people that have been trained in this in the U.S. military. Again, it's just a fact. The Soviet Union did as well. Russia does. China. So, could it be that information is gleaned by, again, remote viewers, psychics? Or is it even way beyond that? Is it literally time travel and trying to alter events so that they don't happen the way they happened in the previous timeline? Or is it just simply completely just an organized script and every little detail has been accounted for?
Yeah, you got to wonder, why are they doing that big search? To me, it was coming to me that possibly, he drew a particular straw and it was time for him to do his job. I feel that he's known, he knows he was supposed to do something, and maybe he was just out living life, and then they had to run a search because it's his turn to do something. You just don't know. Or is it time travel? I think time travel is 100% possible. Any technology that we see now is, if we see it now, it's been perfected to such a high degree, we probably wouldn't even really recognize it. Right now, we're just getting the bottom of the barrel technologies. We're getting the technologies. We're getting the scraps that they want to throw to us type of technologies. We're not getting the really, really good stuff by any means.
Right. So this is fascinating. Searches for his name spiked 4 times before the shooting. Right? Somebody knew something. Either this is obviously people that are in on the script and what's going to transpire, and they're just doing whatever work they have to do to make sure everything goes according to plan. Maybe. Or is this people getting psychic information? Or, what's really going on here? This is really very, very interesting. It is so interesting. Again, a 31-year-old from Torrance, California. No guests were hurt, right? And he was apprehended. Oh, it gets even crazier. He interned at NASA in 2014? In NASA, oh, wait a minute. Look at this. Look at this. In 2014, NASA published a paper, and Henry Martinez was an author. An ex-user named Henry Martinez, made in 2023, made only a single post, December 21st, 2023, and his post said Cole Allen. Is this Time Traveler Club, putting out little tidbits to lead those that are awake to follow the paper trail?
It's something, isn't it? It's very curious, all of these, in hindsight, right? Hindsight. So we're only able to put all this together now.
Yeah, I before doing this, I was primarily operating on a forum that I'm most of the time banned from. They don't usually let me in here. Okay, they are at the moment. Godlike Productions. So a long time ago, this was founded by a woman. Her name was Elaine. I don't know her last name, but it was bought again by a different person. But in reality, it was taken over by the feds, is the reality. So, it's interesting because when you go way back in time, and there are some fascinating threads to follow over here, as there are on Reddit. There was this time traveler that came through. You remember the Ayn Rand? Ayn Rand wrote a book called Atlas Shrugged. And, it's a well-known book. And in it is the question, who is John Galt? Well, anyway, there was supposedly a time traveler that showed up on Godlike Productions. We're going back to the 90s, and I was very active back in those days on Godlike. And, they talked about, again, Civil War in the U.S., World War III, talked about all this stuff. And also talked about the reality of time travel. So is time travel just a psyop, or is it really possible? And then you have all this sleight of hand. This is perfect. This is Oz Perlman. He is a mentalist. What does that mean? He doesn't even call himself a magician. But again, he utilizes different tools to give you the illusion of magic. But there really is magic with a K. It is a very real thing because this whole reality is ultimately mental. It's all about consciousness. Here he is showing a piece of paper to Caroline, Melania, and 47. Right before Trump is rushed off stage, a man holds up a card. 1 second later, Melania reacts with an expression of horror on his face. So, what was he saying? What was really going on here? Of course you're going to have that look of shock and disbelief. Wow, how did he read my mind? Is that what it was? But then everything happened, and all of a sudden people are panicked and running off the stage. Was it a cue card? Okay, here comes the shooter.
I know, right? Yeah, it's just, okay, everybody scream and cry now. But, from what I saw at the video, they might have had time to get information to these people because it looks like he just ran right past security. I mean, he booked it too. He was going really fast. I mean, I think he was running abnormally fast. It looked really weird in the video. But then there's this, so maybe in those split few seconds, they could get a message out there. I don't know how, unless the message was already written, because you'd actually have to write something like that down, right? That takes a second. So I don't know, was Melania, she was doing a good job of being surprised. Was she not clued in?
Yeah, so you can see it happen in real time, and this is slowed down. But, of course, you're going to want to look surprised. Wow, how did you do that? But then it rolls straight into the actual intrigue of the night with the shooting. Thankfully, again, doesn't appear anybody lost their life. That's the good part of this. But then again, if these are all just simply actors that are in the club, sometimes they do, cut an actor, if you know what I mean. Other times they don't need to. So this is just adding to the intrigue of the night. There you go. Fear under fire. Who is Cole Thomas Allen as the charges he faces over White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting are revealed? 31 years old. He's facing at least 3 charges. They managed to apprehend him after he breached a security checkpoint, exchanged gunfire with law enforcement, supposedly hit one of the security detail in their vest. The alleged shooter has since been identified as Allen, a teacher from Torrance, California, who just recently got Teacher of the Month award. Wow, what type of curriculum are they pushing? Oh man. Then you have the whole MK Ultra side of things too. Besides the acting and the script, you have the whole MK Ultra side of things, which is all too real. Federal prosecutors moved quickly and already announced he's being charged with 2 counts of using a firearm during a crime of violence and assault on a federal officer using a dangerous weapon. He's expected to be arraigned federal court on Monday. If convicted, he could face 20 years in jail, while the weapons charge comes with a minimum of 10 years, with possibility of life behind bars if fired. It's clear based on what we know so far he was intent on doing as much harm and as much damage as he could. U.S. Secretary, U.S. State's Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro. Wait a minute. That's Judge... Yeah. She's, again, an actress, too. Isn't it interesting how it all kind of just rolls right through? I mean, he seems like a nice guy. He feels like a nice on his face. Class of 2025. Just an all-American family. What can you say? Stereotypical, right? You got to look at everything as being part of a script. Cops swarmed his parents' $877,000 home on Saturday night, shortly after he was arrested. He had no prior criminal record, was not previously known to law enforcement in D.C., one of 4 siblings, including 2 sisters and a brother. Photographs circulating online showed him smiling alongside family members. Now, recognize, too, here he is coming from suburbia and everything, but he literally did work for NASA at one point in time. Describes himself as a mechanical engineer, computer scientist, independent game developer, teacher by birth. He earned a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering from California Institute of Technology and then a Master of Science from California State University. During his time at Caltech, he listed involvement in Caltech Christian Fellowship and Caltech Nerf Club. More recently, he'd been working on education. December 2024, he was named Teacher of the Month at C2 Education. This is usually reserved for standout instructors. Nothing to give you any indication of violence. No, I don't. His energy doesn't really feel violent. Does he feel like he might be an actor? Yeah, I could see that. He could also be very, very intelligent. Again, with his degrees, he's obviously had a lot of education. But then when you get to the top schools too, a lot of them have their little secret societies. A lot of them do have their clubs. And they're always looking to recruit the right people for the right job, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a completely different, separate education. So, this might just look like this guy is going to go to jail on trial, and then they just ship him off to someplace like Peru where he lives out his life. And, or, then there's the chance that there could be... that technology that they send into people's heads and they think they're hearing things and they actually believe it. And there could be that problem too with this technology that we have coming out. That's a real problem, So, if anyone's having a hard time, depression, anything, a lot of thoughts going through your mind, just know that, if you have a tablet, a phone, anything, internet going into your house, know that they can send through frequencies that are not nice. So it's good to learn how to discern that and dismiss any of that, negative information going through your head. If it's not yours, it's not yours.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there were some tweets out there about how heroic Pete Hegseth looked and how he was on guard and just, taking control. And then we also have Erica here, I don't know if it's going to play this one. They don't seem to want to play. But anyway, she runs by. I just want to go home. This is Baron Trump News, Baron T News. It's a fan account. I just want to go home. This poor woman just lost her husband to political violence less than a year ago. Now she's thrust into another traumatic nightmare. Sure. Yeah, again, there's people that understand what's already come out. and about connections, again, connections to Secret Service, literally, of other government entities. So they don't want this one playing for some reason. I'll let that go there. And by the way, it seemed like they really did rush JD off first. Maybe just because he was close, or could it be because, in 3 or 4 months' time, he's going to be delivering a message to the nation saying a dark day in history, they finally got who. And now he has to reluctantly step up and lead the country. Now, don't forget his ties to who, Peter Thiel and Palantir, and also, of course, these substances. Tarot by Isabella did a video that she had a little warning up talking about ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. It was a good little video. It's part 2. She did a previous one with her cohort in crime, Gary, about a week or 2 earlier, and this was part 2. Yeah, it's very fascinating because once you really truly take that awakening pill and you understand things, you just can't look at things the same.
No, you can never unswallow the jagged pill.
No. So yeah, JD rushed off quickly, and then they come back for 47. Okay. Yeah. Oh, KK, thank you, beloved sister.
Thank you so much, dearest KK.
Yes, KK, is somebody we check in with every day. She is an awesome light. And again, all these examples of people that can rise above and beyond what you would think is possible. She had some real challenging hurdles physically that I think would have taken out a lesser person. But she is getting stronger and getting healthier every single day, and that's beautiful. So what do you guys see with this? What do you see with this? This person saying, is JD Vance the real president? He will be. I have almost no doubt of that, that he's slated to finish this term. That's my feeling.
It sure is. All the arrows are pointing that way, aren't they?
And it really all goes back to the vision that Cindy got before that infamous election, when Biden and Trump were, the whole thing. That led to January 6th, et cetera, all the allegations and the reality. Before that, I want to say it was September, before the election, we had asked to see what does the president look like that's going to lead the United States through World War III and Civil War. And she was shown somebody that looks exactly like JD Vance. Piercing blue eyes, younger facial hair.
Dark hair, blue eyes, and going through the years and watching to see if that image would pop up, and there's JD Vance as vice president. But we'll have to see. It could be way off.
And I think the script can change, and I think it depends on how many people wake up and understand what is going on. Here you go. The memes start. Let's see. We got to pull out of the false flag bag of tricks. We got any more? Approval is low. Does approval really matter? I think only when it gets to the point where the system is being in danger of being completely uncovered. My poll numbers are at 32%. Send in the fake assassin.
Oh yeah, that's always a fun trick.
It is. It's just so funny. It really is. And yet, you might laugh at this, but I mean, seriously, the Biden presidency was weekend at Bernie's for 4 years.
I know. And this is just, kind of a different weekend at Bernie's.
It is. It's a different weekend at Bernie's. It's definitely more entertaining. Yet we're waiting for some of the bigger events, which, we've gotten a lot more action since the inauguration of 47 for sure. Yet, there are reports out there that one of the actors that portrayed the autopen guy is literally being sued or is under arrest. There's always so much disinformation going on at the same time. What can you say? It's a crazy world.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. All the ear bandages.
Again, I think 2020 was just, it was kind of like how many people will play Simon Says. It's like a test. How many people will play Simon Says? Matt really emerged, Matt Van Swol, he emerged really, in my mind, mostly with the flooding and the storms that hit Western North Carolina, because I believe that's where he lives, is in Western North Carolina. And, here he is. He's risen to 500,000 followers on X. You do not rise to 500,000 followers on X without being a part of the system. I really don't think you could. And I hope it doesn't sound like sour grapes, spoiled milk, whatever you want to say. But the reality is, here you go. So you can expose things left and right all day long. But when it comes to this event, and your purpose is to divide people or to, reassure that you believe in, the script that's out there being legitimate, and you got the left-right paradigm going, that's your purpose. This is what they do. Your purpose, you could expose certain things. You might even mention weather manipulation because it's going to be just plain obvious to many people. But then if you're still part of the system and either you're splitting it politically, between the Democrats, the Republicans, the left and the right, or religiously between, say, Islam and Christianity, or, any number of different religious views, you're serving a purpose. And so you can be allowed to thrive and grow. And talking about X, and you have Elon Musk reposting this from Donald Trump. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our defense against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, may humbly pray, and do thou, O Prince of heavenly hosts are armies, by the way, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and the evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. America is a Christian nation, I guarantee you. None of these politicians have any real religion. I don't even think they worship Lucifer, Satan, because again, these are all constructs. Not to get away from the fact that there are real reasons why we have these mental pictures of certain entities. Why do we picture the devil with a pitchfork and horns and red? Because they're trying to represent really the Draco, those that we know as the Draco and reptilians. Why do we think of angels? Again, and by the way, Trump with Archangel Michael, it was quite a big post. And how about the archangels? Why are they always blue-eyed, blonde-haired, Well, that was not the post that Trump did. And then we have this. Oh, jeez. Again, the Hulkster. It is the WWE. It's because, again, the Pleiadians. It's that what we've been calling or thinking as angels a lot of times are really, again, extraterrestrial entities. And what we call, Satan, or think of as Satan, in some ways is really representing the reptilians. Why is Satan down in the depths of hell? Because the reptilians live inside the earth, or at least there are some that live inside the earth. They've been there the whole time. And this is the reality of it. When you think of, again, the splitting, Zeus gets the heavenly realms, or the area over our heads. And then you have Poseidon in the sea. And, again, this is the splitting of these different groups. It's really representing different groups. There's so much that's so symbolic. This could be, again, we talked about this before, all roads lead to Rome, right? But at the same time, it looks like the Statue of Liberty. But then it also could represent Baron Trump. What? Well, Baron Trump has a crown chakra unlike anybody we've ever seen. It literally has 3 aspects to it, pulling in energy. It's just fascinating. The apocalypse goes mainstream. 40% of American adults in 2022 believe we're living in the end times. But I got news for you. Every generation has thought it's living in the end times since they gave us this religious system.
There's that. And then everyone, like I keep seeing posts saying, well, this is, going to be the end date. This is going to be the end date. Or, anytime we have a date, an actual date given when something major is going to happen, I never trust those actual dates. I think this is something that time can just not put a finger on. I think this is the unraveling, and it's more of a process, and it's more of a we're reaching a threshold. It's not about one particular date where everything is going to change.
No, and why can't we not get things right with dates all the time? Because there's too many consciousnesses in play. Ultimately, there is one consciousness. Again, it's said in the Hindu belief system that we are all living in Vishnu's dream. We're living in the Creator's dream. And we are all fractals of the one Creator. And, ultimately, we're unique fractals, having our own experience through our own lens. That lens is always changing. Recognize that. You're not the same person that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, not even a year ago. How much more have you learned since, lockdown? Just think about the you of right now as opposed to the you of pre-lockdown. How much have you changed? Have you guys changed? Please do share with us. And what has changed the most since lockdown in your perceptions of our reality?
There's been a lot.
And there's been so much as far as, again, these ships. Why now are we getting such clear pictures? Why now is everybody taking pictures? Why are they showing themselves now? We got that the eclipse of April 8th, 2024 was the end of the Kali Yuga and the beginning of the Bronze Age. There's a transition period, usually takes a couple 100 years, 200-300 years of transition. So, because you're taking in new energies. This is a unique experience. You incarnate into the earth realm. In a Kali Yuga, it's one experience. In a Bronze Age, it's another. In a silver, a different one. And in a gold, a totally different. It's designed that way. It's part of the programming of this matrix, because this is a matrix. There is a programmer for this matrix. Then there's the dark matrix, which has hijacked a very little portion of the natural matrix. Unfortunately, or fortunately, because again, a lot of the greatest growth comes through times of trial and tribulation. So you're here at some of the most turbulent times. It literally gives us the most opportunity for growth. You are on the wild ride. You're standing in line and you just got on that roller coaster that goes upside down and all twisty turny. Yeah, that's you. You've decided to come in at, the peak puke time, so to speak, on the turbulent ride.
It's pretty crazy right now for sure.
It is, and it is a temporary experience. You are already an eternal being. You're just having a temporary experience. Look at this. Now, I don't think this is Austin, but at the same time, I think there's something to this sighting. I think it's more probably from Mexico. This is really odd. It has two other smaller things. Maybe it's more of a bigger ship letting out two orbs, two others. There you go. Now, this looks almost very fake over here, but the thing is, more than one person filmed this, which is really pretty wild. Because I was going to dismiss this at first. These are actually a little more triangular than orb, and this looks really futuristic and weird. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. As you can see, it has flashing lights. Very odd. Is it a mothership? Again, when I realized that more people have actually filmed this thing, than just one. It was interesting. And it's also, again, the fact that we're getting these things every day popping up out of the woodwork. Could they all be just AI? This is altered. This was cleaning it up and enhancing. But, could that be one of our ships? Oh, that's exactly what I would expect, that would be one of ours. Something like this.
Very, very curious, this one.
And again, we've been working with reptilians and greys all of our lives. All of our lives. It's nothing new. This is up in Scotland. There's so many of these sightings because we're now in the Bronze Age. The agreements that were made to give humans that deep, dark experience of the Kali Yuga where they don't know anything. They know nothing. They only know that which the dark control system has brought them up with through indoctrination and brainwashing. And that's what it is. Every one of us have been brainwashed since birth. Only now many people are starting to wake.
Yeah, it's going to take all of us too. It takes support because there's still the masses are still asleep, and then like one person out of every family here is awake, and that's what we're doing here to help hold each other up.
Yeah, and support each other, because it's hard to realize that everything that you were brought up with was really, it was just a story. It was just an illusion, just a play. And in fact, humans, we've thought that we were at the top of the food pyramid, and we thought, "Whoa, thank God." Thank God we're not like the sheep, the goats, the pigs, the cows that get taken to be processed. Well, maybe we haven't been at the top of the food chain after all.
Just a thought.
And that's a big one. And that's one that people don't want to face. You don't want to face that because, wait a minute, if there are beings that have way more power than us, way more technology, and they've literally fed us our religious systems, our political systems, our monetary systems, that's very disempowering. But the reality that you have to look deeper into is, what are we in the first place? Well, what if I told you we're actually more than those that have fed us this lie and illusion, that we hold greater potential than the actual dark controllers do? I do believe that's the reality. Because again, we are already an eternal consciousness. We're just having a temporary experience as a human. As a human, awakening to the fact that they're not the top of the food chain on planet Earth. That really the control system has done what it did in order to convince them to work their butts off for the control system. And you ever wonder why we really don't ever own our land? You have to pay taxes. They could take it away from you at any time. They could draft you at any time. They could, declare a state of emergency at any time and force people to work in any way they deem necessary because of that state of emergency. All this has been in effect for all of our lives. It goes way back, as John Levy was showing in his video today, to 1933, the War Powers Act, and before that. Even before that. But I do think that much of the time, I think only really this dark control system has been empowered just during the Kali Yuga. Most of the time, we're not under their control. Most of the time, we live in more of a natural paradise. The Garden of Eden could be right here in just a generation or less. We could turn the entire earth into a Garden of Eden once the control system is exposed and removed.
We're the only ones who have to pay to live on the earth.
That's true. No animals pay taxes. As you see, this is something very large, apparently leaving the moon. Very, very large from this perspective. There's a lot of illusion out there. Ultra-processed foods can wreak havoc on your attention span. Again, you might laugh and say, oh, well, I caved twice last week and whatever, you went to fast food and stuff. What you don't realize is this could put you into a tailspin. It's going to impact your health in a really negative way. It could also impact your very ability to think clearly.
You know, diet is so very important, what we put in our bodies. I think we're just so used to grabbing whatever is on the shelf if we're hungry and getting it in our bodies because we've been made to be so busy. We don't have time to look at the ingredients. But I mean, now I think more than ever, we really need to stop and take a minute and, you know, see what we're eating.
Yeah, I think we have to make the time, you know, because again, as your health declines, so is your cognitive ability typically going to decline. So this study showed that for every 10% increase in ultra-processed food calories, dementia risks also ticked upward on a scale, measuring changeable risk factors. Ultra-processed food intake showed no link to memory, only attention. Yeah, well, what do we have? We have ADHD and ADD. Again, all that came in with the rise of more and more processed foods. And I don't even believe that, like, way back when I was a little kid and we got McDonald's, I don't think it was anywhere near as bad for you back then in the 70s than it is now. Everything is deteriorated. And, you know, again, if you're eating a lot of processed food, you're taking in a lot of nanu. You're taking in a lot of junk and stuff that's going to cause inflammation throughout your body, which is going to set you up for a fall as you age. Findings held up even after accounting for Mediterranean diet adherence, suggesting that the degree of food processing itself may play a distinct role in brain health. And a lot of the stuff is also the additives that they put in there were the dyes and the preservatives. And you know, now there's an awful lot of insect protein being put in little places that you might not expect it. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. You know, 90% of the cheese in the US that's sold that's not organic is loaded with like a starter, like a rennet. That comes from P.F. Iser, kid you not. So, yeah, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, things like that. Look to your diet. And even with skin cancer and sunburn, people automatically think they got to lather onto their skin things. What about what you're putting in your mouth? Because that has a big, big effect on the development of all cancers.
It sure does.
Then you have these anomalies. What the heck is a gigantic handprint doing way up in a mountain in China? Were they trying to give us a clue? Hey, look where I can reach. Bet you can't.
Yeah, I know. That's a good one.
And even if it was carved and painted, why would somebody do that? Unless they wanted to say, look, there really were giants, and they were enormous. And we remember the days where we interacted with many different species. At first, they're going to introduce humanoid species, or species that look very human. At first, they're going to, let you know some of the non-humans that have been here the whole time, because they've been here the whole time, hiding amongst us.
Oh, they're just kind of here all over the place.
Absolutely. If anybody needs energy work, I saw there was a question in there. You could always reach us at evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Allow a couple weeks usually to get on the schedule. Again, we've worked with people from every continent, all over the world. We have a lot of regulars that we see on a regular basis, and we would love to help anybody that we could help with. All the information's on every single video. Again, we want to give you guys thanks for your support. I guess the big point is, while they get you looking one direction, they're doing something else. This is just what they've done time and time and time again.
It's their favorite game.
And Cindy's going to give us some dings, and we want to thank you guys. I know, we just appreciate and love you guys.
Special thanks to Oneness and KK today. We appreciate it so much. And let's set some intentions and do some dings, you guys. You guys are amazing. Source bless and namaste.
Loka samasta sukhi no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute to their happiness and freedom. If we all did really truly put that into reality, and we try to, if you ever have anything questionable that pops up in your life and you wonder, should I do this, should I do that? And I do it myself sometimes. I'll catch myself and I'll say, okay, if I act emotionally, react emotionally to something in a negative way, am I truly helping to spread freedom and compassion? These are the things we have to always keep in mind in everything, in all of our life, every day. Much love, you guys. Want to thank you guys. We couldn't do it without you. Source bless and namaste.